Ambassador Min-jun Park walked through the long halls of Nexus Station. The space station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. Aliens of all kinds moved past him. But today they seemed to avoid looking at him. Something was wrong. Min-jun had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 5 years. He knew when the mood changed. Today felt different. Dangerous. His assistant, Jenny Kim, met him at the embassy doors. Her face was pale. "Sir, we received an official message from the council. It's marked as urgent." Min-jun took the datapad from her hands. The council's symbol glowed on the screen, 7 stars in a circle. He pressed his thumb on the scanner to open the message. The words made his blood run cold. By order of the Galactic Council, the species known as humans must pay tribute for continued membership and protection. The tribute will consist of 40% of all rare earth minerals from the planet Earth, 30% of all food production, and 10,000 human workers annually for galactic service. This tribute will begin in 30 galactic standard days. Failure to comply will result in severe consequences for the human species. Min-jun read the message 3 times. Each time, it felt more impossible. Earth had been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years. They had always been treated as equals, or at least as junior partners. This demand was insane. "Jenny, call Admiral Chen and Dr. Okafor. We need an emergency meeting." 20 minutes later, the 3 humans sat in Min-jun's office. Admiral Sarah Chen was Earth's military representative, a tough woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Dr. James Okafor was their alien culture expert, a tall man with kind eyes who understood how different species thought. "This is robbery," Admiral Chen said after reading the message. "Pure and simple. They want to strip Earth of everything valuable." Dr. Okafor shook his head slowly. "It's worse than that. Look at the pattern. 40% of our minerals, 30% of our food, 10,000 workers. These numbers aren't random. They're designed to cripple our growth." Min-jun leaned back in his chair. "The question is why? What changed? 50 years ago, they welcomed us with open arms. Now this." "I can answer that," came a voice from the door. All 3 humans turned. A tall, reptilian figure stood there. It was Chancellor Vex Tar, the leader of the Galactic Council. His scales were dark green, and his yellow eyes looked at the humans with something like disgust. "Chancellor," Min-jun stood up. "Please, come in." Vex Tar moved into the room with slow, deliberate steps. 2 guards followed him, but they stayed by the door. "I wanted to deliver this message personally," he said. His voice was cold and formal. "Your species has been growing too fast, spreading too far. The Council believes it's time for guidance." "Guidance?" Admiral Chen's voice was sharp. "This looks more like slavery." Vex Tar's eyes narrowed. "Careful, Admiral. Your species is young and doesn't understand galactic politics. The tribute system has kept peace for thousands of years. Every species pays their share." Dr. Okafor spoke quietly. "Which other species pay tribute like this?" "1. For just a moment, Vex Tar hesitated. "All new species contribute to galactic stability." "That's not an answer," Min-jun said. Vex Tar turned his full attention to the ambassador. "You have 30 days, Mr. Park. 30 days to convince your leaders that compliance is the only path forward. The alternative would be unfortunate. Are you threatening us?" Admiral Chen stood up, her hand moving toward her weapon. "I'm stating facts," Vex Tar replied calmly. "The Council has decided. The tribute will be paid, or consequences will follow. Good day." The Chancellor left with his guards. The 3 humans sat in silence for a long moment. "He's lying," Dr. Okafor said finally. "About the tribute system. I've studied every species in the Council for years. None of them pay tribute like this." Then why are they demanding it from us? Jenny asked from the corner where she'd been taking notes. Min-jun stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see ships from dozens of species docking at the station. There's only one thing that's changed recently. Our quantum fold technology. 3 months ago, Earth's scientists had made a breakthrough. They'd learned how to fold space for faster travel. It was better than anything the Council had. Much better. You think they want our technology? Admiral Chen asked. I think they're scared of it, Min-jun replied. And scared species do dangerous things. Dr. Okafor was already working on his datapad. I'm going to contact some friends among the minor species. If the humans are really the first to get a demand like this, someone will know. Do it quietly, Min-jun warned. We don't want the Council to know we're asking questions. Admiral Chen stood up. I'll send a message to Earth Fleet Command. They need to know what's happening. Careful with that message, Min-jun said. Assume the Council is listening to everything we send. As his team left to do their work, Min-jun stayed at the window. A small ship was docking nearby. It was Kytherian design. Blue and silver, with flowing lines. The Kytherians were traders and explorers, one of the few species that got along well with humans. An idea formed in his mind. Maybe it was time to have some unofficial conversations. 2 hours later, Min-jun sat in a small restaurant in the station's commercial sector. The food was terrible, but it was one of the few places where different species mixed freely. He pretended to read reports while waiting. Ambassador Park. The voice was musical, like wind chimes. A female Kytherian approached his table. Her skin was pale blue, and her silver hair moved like water. Zara, Min-jun smiled. Please, sit down. Zara had been trading with humans for years. She was smart, honest, and had contacts throughout the galaxy. I heard about the Council's message, she said quietly. Word travels fast among the traders. What are people saying? Zara looked around the restaurant, then leaned closer. They're saying this is the first time the Council has ever made such a demand. The minor species are scared. If they can do this to humans, they can do it to anyone. Min-jun felt his suspicions confirmed. Do you know why they're doing this? There are rumors, Zara said carefully. Some say the Zelkari are pushing for this. They've been talking about galactic order and the need to control dangerous technologies. The Zelkari were Vex-Tar's species. They controlled most of the Council's military power. Zara, I need to ask you something important. If Earth refused to pay this tribute, how many species would support us? Zara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. More than you might think, but they're afraid. The Council has power, weapons, entire fleets. The minor species have ships for trade and exploration, not war. What if it wasn't about war? What if it was about standing together? That, Zara said with a sad smile, would be very human of you to think, but it might work. Humans have a way of making other species believe in impossible things. After Zara left, Min-jun walked back to the embassy. His mind was racing with possibilities. Earth couldn't fight the entire Galactic Council alone. But maybe they didn't have to fight alone. Maybe it was time to show the galaxy what humans did best, bringing people together. The tribute demand was meant to destroy humanity. Instead, it might be the thing that set the whole galaxy free. Min-jun smiled for the first time since reading the Council's message. This was going to be interesting. The emergency meeting on Earth lasted 16 hours. Min-jun, attended by quantum communication, from Nexus Station. The Earth Council chamber was full of angry voices and worried faces. President Maria Santos banged her gavel for order. Enough. We need solutions, not shouting. There's only one solution, said General Morrison from Earth Defense Command. We tell them no. If they want to fight, We'll give them a fight. With what? Asked Dr. Helena Vasquez, Earth Science Advisor. But we have better ships, the general replied. Our quantum-fold drives make us faster than anything they have. Minister of Trade Robert Kim shook his head. And then what? Even if we win battles, they control all the trade routes. They can cut us off from the rest of the galaxy. Min-jun spoke from the screen. There might be another option. We don't fight the council. We investigate why they really want this tribute. What do you mean? President Santos asked. Think about it. They've never asked for tribute before. From anyone. Something made them scared enough to break their own rules. If we can find out what that is, maybe we can use it. Dr. Okafor appeared on another screen from his office on Nexus Station. I've been talking to contacts among the minor species. The pattern is disturbing. Every species that's ever been forced to give resources to the Council never recovered. They become permanent servants. Admiral Chen joined the conversation from her ship. Our intelligence suggests the Zelkari are behind this. They've been building their military for years. This tribute could be the final piece of their plan. President Santos leaned forward. What kind of plan? Empire. Admiral Chen said simply. With our quantum technology and Earth's resources, they could control the entire galaxy. The room fell silent. Finally, Minister Kim spoke. So what do? We can't pay the tribute, and we can't fight the whole council. We do what humans do best, Min-jun said. We make allies. Dr. Okafor nodded. The minor species are already unhappy with council rule. They just need someone to show them it's possible to resist. That's a dangerous game, President Santos warned. If we're caught organizing rebellion, then we make sure we're not caught, Admiral Chen said. At least, not until we're ready. The president looked around the room at her advisors. All right. We'll try Min-jun's plan. But we need insurance. General Morrison, start moving our fleets into defensive positions. Make it look like routine exercises. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Vasquez, I want every scientist working on our defenses. If this goes wrong, we need to be ready. Already started, the science advisor replied. And Min-jun? The president looked directly at the screen. You have our authority to make whatever deals you need to make. But be careful. If this backfires, you'll be very far from home. Back on Nexus Station, Min-jun began the most dangerous mission of his career. He couldn't use official channels. The council monitored everything. Instead, he relied on the networks that existed in the shadows of galactic society. Traders like Zara moved information along with their goods. Artists and musicians traveled between worlds, carrying messages in their songs and stories. Scientists working on joint projects whispered in laboratories and conference rooms. Dr. Okafor became the key to everything. His years of studying alien cultures had made him friends across dozens of species. More importantly, he understood how each species thought and what they valued. The luminals are beings of pure energy, he explained to Min-jun over a secure connection. They value knowledge and freedom of thought above everything. The Council has been restricting their research for decades. What about the aquatic Nereidans? Min-jun asked. They're natural explorers, but the Council keeps them in designated water worlds. They hate being confined. And the Ferians, their whole culture is based on honor and justice. The Council's corruption disgusts them. So they're all unhappy. Why haven't they done anything about it? Dr. Okafor's face was grim. Fear. The Council destroyed the last species that openly rebelled. Made an example of them. Every species knows what happens to those who resist. What happened? Their homeworld was turned into a prison planet. Their children taken away and raised by other species. Their culture was wiped out completely. Min-jun felt sick. How long ago? 200 years. But the lesson hasn't been forgotten. That night, Min-jun couldn't sleep. He walked through the quiet corridors of the human embassy, thinking about fear and courage. Earth had been lucky so far. They'd joined the galaxy during a peaceful time, when the Council was more interested in trade than control. But things had changed. The Council was getting more aggressive, more controlling. Earth's quantum technology was just the excuse they needed to drop their masks completely. The next day brought the first real breakthrough. Zara arrived at the embassy with news that made Min Jun's heart race. "I've been talking to the captain of a Nereid exploration ship," she said. "Her name is Coral Song of Deep Waters. She's young, smart, and very angry about the tribute demand." "Why angry?" "Because she understands what it means. The Nereids have been watching human expansion for years. They admire how humans explore space, always moving forward, always looking for new things. The tribute would end that. Can you arrange a meeting?" "Already done. Tonight, Docking Bay 7. She's bringing some friends." That evening, Min Jun met with 5 aliens who would change the course of galactic history. Besides Coral, there was Flame of Justice from the Fyrians, a being who looked like walking fire. Light Dancer represented the Luminals, appearing as a shifting pattern of bright energy. Zara spoke for the Catherians, and surprisingly, there was also Deep Thinker, a member of the ancient ethereal species that rarely involved themselves in politics. "We know why you asked us here," Coral said. Her voice sounded like waves on a beach. "The question is, what you plan to do about the Council." Min Jun chose his words carefully. "Earth doesn't want to rule anyone, or control anything. We just want to be free to explore, to grow, to be ourselves. We think other species want the same thing." "The Council will never allow that," Flame of Justice said. His voice crackled like a bonfire. "They fear change. They fear species that might become stronger than they are." "Then maybe it's time for the Council to change," Min Jun said quietly. The aliens looked at each other. Finally, Deep Thinker spoke. His voice was like wind through ancient trees. "Humans are either very brave or very foolish." "Hope?" Min Jun asked. Light Dancer's energy pattern shifted to warm colors. "For 50 years, humans have shared their art, their music, their stories with other species. Your ideas about freedom and equality have spread. The young of every species now ask questions their elders never dared ask." Coral nodded. "My daughter asks why the Nereids can't explore beyond the water worlds. Flame of Justice's son questions why the Fyrians must follow Council laws that have no honor. Change is coming whether the Council wants it or not. The question," Deep Thinker said, "is whether that change will be gradual or violent. Humans might be able to guide it toward peace." Zara leaned forward. "What do you need from us?" Min Jun took a deep breath. "Information, communication networks, and when the time comes, courage. We're going to make the Council an offer they'll have to refuse." "Which is?" Flame of Justice asked. "We're going to give them exactly what they asked for." Min Jun smiled. "And it's going to destroy them." Over the next 10 days, the network grew. Scientists, traders, artists, and rebels from dozens of species began secretly coordinating. They shared information about Council military positions, trade routes, and political weaknesses. Most importantly, they began to hope. Dr. Okafor worked day and night, analyzing everything they learned. Admiral Chen quietly positioned human ships to protect key allies, and Min Jun prepared for the most dangerous negotiation of his life. Because in 15 days, he would have to face the Council and give them an answer. And that answer would determine whether the galaxy stayed enslaved or finally became free. The tribute demand was meant to break humanity's spirit. Instead, it was about to break the chains that bound the entire galaxy. The revolution was beginning, and the Council had no idea what was coming. The Great Council chamber was packed. Representatives from every major species sat in their designated sections, while smaller species filled the observation areas. Min Jun walked to the center podium, feeling hundreds of alien eyes watching his every move. Chancellor Vextar sat on his throne-like chair, surrounded by the other council leaders. His yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction. He clearly expected this to be a simple surrender. "Ambassador Park?" Vextar's voice echoed through the chamber. "Have you brought Earth's answer to our reasonable request?" Minjun looked up at the council, then turned to address the entire assembly. "I have. Earth accepts the council's terms. We will pay the tribute as demanded." 2. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Many aliens had expected humans to fight. Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Excellent. Your species shows wisdom. The tribute shipments will begin immediately." "Of course," Minjun said. "But Earth would like to make a proposal about the delivery method." Vextar's smile faded slightly. "What kind of proposal?" "Earth's quantum fold technology allows us to transport large amounts of cargo quickly. Instead of using slow council transport ships, we can deliver the tribute directly to designated planets. It will be much more efficient." The Chancellor thought about this. Faster delivery meant the Council would get their tribute sooner. "Acceptable. You will deliver to coordinates we provide. And regarding the human workers," Minjun continued, "Earth would like to volunteer our best and brightest. Scientists, engineers, cultural experts, people who can truly contribute to galactic civilization." Several council members nodded approvingly. They liked the idea of getting skilled workers instead of random people. "Very wise," said Councillor Ixmana of the crystalline species. "Skilled workers are much more valuable." Vextar waved his hand dismissively. "Fine. Fine. As long as the numbers are met." "They will be. Earth takes its commitment seriously." Minjun bowed slightly. "We look forward to contributing to galactic prosperity." As Minjun left the chamber, he caught sight of Coral in the observation section. The young Nereid's eyes were wide with confusion. She'd expected resistance, not surrender. But if she looked carefully, she might have noticed the tiny smile on Minjun's lips. 3 days later, the first tribute ships left Earth. They were huge cargo vessels, each carrying what appeared to be millions of tons of rare Earth minerals. The Council tracking stations monitored their progress with satisfaction. What the trackers didn't know was that each cargo container held more than minerals. Hidden in the shipments were thousands of small quantum communication devices, designed to look exactly like mineral crystals. The human workers began arriving on different worlds throughout Council space. They came as requested: scientists, engineers, cultural experts. They were polite, helpful, and very interested in learning about their new homes. What they were really interested in was making contact with the local population. Dr. Sarah Kim arrived on the Nereid world of Oceana Prime. She was supposedly there to help improve underwater mining techniques. In reality, she was an expert in social organization and peaceful resistance. "The humans sent you to help us mine more efficiently?" asked Tiderunner, the Nereid supervisor assigned to Dr. Kim. "Among other things," Sarah replied. "But I'm also interested in Nereid culture. On Earth, we believe that understanding each other is the key to working together." That evening, Sarah was invited to a Nereid cultural gathering. As she listened to their songs about the freedom of the deep oceans, she began to share human stories about exploration and discovery. "Your species really believes that all intelligent beings should be free to explore?" asked a young Nereid named Current Swift. "We do," Sarah said. "In fact, we have a saying: the universe is too big and too wonderful for any one species to see it all alone. We need each other to truly understand what's out there." Current Swift's eyes lit up. "I've always dreamed of seeing the gas giant nebulas. But the Council says Nereids must stay near water worlds." "Maybe someday that will change," Sarah said carefully. Meanwhile, on the Fyrian world of Honorstone, Engineer Mark Okafor was having similar conversations. The Ferians valued honor and justice above all else, and they were deeply troubled by what they saw as the Council's dishonorable treatment of Earth. "Your people submitted to tribute without fighting," said Blade of Truth, a young Ferian warrior. "Where is the honor in that?" After. Mark chose his words carefully. "Sometimes the greatest courage comes from choosing when and how to fight. My people believe that wisdom is knowing the difference between a battle and a war." "I don't understand." "A battle is what happens when two armies meet. A war is what happens when entire peoples decide their futures. Earth may have lost this battle, but the war for galactic freedom might just be beginning." Blade of Truth stared at him for a long moment. "You speak of revolution." "I speak of justice," Mark replied. "The same justice your people have always valued." On dozens of worlds, similar conversations were taking place. Human volunteers were sharing ideas that the Council had tried to suppress for centuries. Ideas about individual rights, democratic government, and the value of cooperation over domination. But the real revolution was happening in the quantum communication network. The disguised devices were being distributed by allies across the galaxy. For the first time in Council history, the oppressed species could talk to each other in secret. Coral used her exploration ship to plant communication devices on remote worlds. Flame of Justice shared them with honor-bound warriors on military outposts. Light Dancer passed them to researchers working in secret laboratories. Within weeks, a hidden network connected thousands of dissatisfied aliens across hundreds of worlds. The messages flowing through the network were simple but powerful. Stories of humans sharing knowledge freely. Reports of Earth's democratic government, where every voice was heard. Proof that a society could be strong without being oppressive. But the network also carried darker news. Dr. Okafor's intelligence sources had uncovered the Council's real plan. "The tribute was never about resources," he reported in an encrypted message to Earth. "It's about time. The Zelkari are building a new type of weapon. Something that can destroy entire star systems. They need our quantum technology to power it, and our minerals to build it." Admiral Chen read the report with growing alarm. "How long before this weapon is ready?" 6 months. Maybe less. Once they have it, no species will ever be able to resist. Council rule. See have down. Right their 7 weathers and see. The timeline had just become critical. The revolution had to succeed before the Council completed their ultimate weapon. But Chancellor Vextar was beginning to notice problems. Reports were coming in from across Council space about unusual activity among the minor species. Productivity was down on several worlds. Some exploration ships were visiting unauthorized locations. "Counselor Ixmana," Vextar called during a private council meeting. "What do your security forces report about the tribute worlds?" The crystalline being shimmered nervously. "There have been some irregularities. Workers gathering in groups. Increased communication between different species. But nothing openly rebellious. And the human workers? They appear to be performing their duties. Perhaps too well. They seem very interested in learning about our cultures and technologies." Kroos. Vextar's eyes narrowed. "They ask many questions about our history, our government, our military capabilities." "Double the surveillance on all human workers," Vextar ordered, "and increase patrols in all minor species territories." But it was already too late. The ideas had been planted, the networks established. Across the galaxy, millions of beings were beginning to ask questions that the Council couldn't answer. Questions like, why can't we explore where we want to go? Why don't we have a say in the laws that govern us? Why should 7 species rule over hundreds? And most dangerous of all, what would happen if we all said no at the same time? On Earth, President Santos received a final message from Min Jun. Phase 1 complete. The seeds are planted. Begin. Phase 2. Admiral Chen smiled grimly as she read the message. Phase 2 was going to be much more direct. Earth's quantum-fold ships began moving through space, but not toward Earth. They were heading to every world where human volunteers had been placed. The Council thought they had won by forcing Earth to pay tribute. They had no idea that the tribute itself was about to destroy everything they had built. The revolution was about to become a war. And this time, the humans wouldn't be fighting alone. Across the galaxy, millions of oppressed beings were preparing to stand up for the first time in their lives. And when they did, the Council would discover that some ideas are more powerful than any weapon. The age of galactic freedom was about to begin. The attack came without warning. Zelkari warships dropped out of quantum-fold space around Earth's outer colonies, their weapons charging for immediate strike. Admiral Chen watched the tactical display from her command ship, the UES Harmony. 30 Zelkari destroyers against her small patrol fleet of 6 ships. The odds were terrible, but she smiled anyway. All ships, implement protocol freedom, she ordered calmly. Her ships scattered in different directions, moving in patterns that seemed random but weren't. The Zelkari commanders, used to rigid military formations, were confused by the chaotic human tactics. Human Admiral, came a transmission from the Zelkari flagship. Surrender immediately. Your resistance is pointless. This is Admiral Chen of Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of galactic law by attacking without provocation. The law has changed, the Zelkari commander replied. Earth has been designated a hostile species. Surrender or be destroyed. Chen's ship dove under the enemy formation, while her other ships attacked from unexpected angles. The human vessels were smaller and faster, darting between the larger Zelkari ships like fish swimming around whales. Target their communication arrays, Chen ordered. Cut them off from their fleet command. Quantum torpedoes lanced out from her ships, designed not to destroy but to disable. Within minutes, half the Zelkari ships were flying blind and deaf. But the victory was temporary. More Zelkari ships were coming, and Chen's small fleet couldn't hold them off forever. That's when the real surprise began. Admiral, her communications officer called out. I'm reading multiple quantum fold signatures. Lots of them. Chen's display lit up with new contacts. 50 ships, then 100, then 200. This is Captain Coral Song, of deep waters of the Nereid Exploration Fleet, came a transmission. We stand with Earth. Flame of Justice of the Furian Honor Guard reporting for battle, came another voice. Light Dancer speaks for the Luminol Science Fleet. We choose freedom. More voices filled the communication channels. Kytherian traders who had turned their fast ships into improvised fighters. Ethereal vessels that seemed to appear and disappear like ghosts. Even some crystalline mining ships, their industrial lasers converted into weapons. The Zelkari commander stared at his tactical display in shock. He was facing a fleet of species that had never cooperated before, led by humans who shouldn't have had time to build alliances. All Council ships, this is Fleet Commander Scar of Victory, he transmitted to his remaining vessels. Implement Scorched Space Protocol. Destroy everything. The battle became desperate and brutal. Zelkari ships, larger and more heavily armed, fought against a mixed fleet that made up for its weaknesses with coordination and determination. Chen watched a Nereid ship sacrifice itself to save a damaged Firian vessel. A luminol energy being merged with a Kytherian ship's computer to repair critical systems mid-battle. The alliance that had been built in secret was now fighting together in the open. But the real war was happening on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. On Oceania Prime, Dr. Sarah Kim received the signal she'd been waiting for. The quantum communication network lit up with a single message. Begin the liberation. Within hours, every world with human volunteers became a center of resistance. But it wasn't humans leading the rebellion. It was the local populations, inspired by ideas of freedom and supported by carefully planned logistics. On the Firian world of Honor Stone, Blade of Truth stood before 10,000 warriors. The Council has betrayed everything we believe in. They demand tribute from species that have done no wrong. They threaten those who dare to explore. Where is the honor in serving such masters? The warriors roared their agreement, and within hours, the Council garrison found itself surrounded by the very people it was supposed to control. On dozens of Nereid water worlds, exploration fleets that had been restricted to their home systems suddenly launched for the stars. "We will explore where we choose," Captain Coral declared from her flagship. "The oceans of space belong to all who dare to swim in them." The Luminals, beings of pure energy who had been forced to work in Council research facilities, simply vanished from their assigned posts and reappeared where they were needed most, disrupting Council communication networks and power systems. Chancellor Vextar watched the reports come in from his command center on Nexus Station. Red lights flashed across the galactic map as world after world declared independence from Council rule. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "These species have never coordinated anything before." His intelligence chief, a nervous insectoid named Click Click, scuttled forward. "Their workers were spreading rebellion while we thought they were submitting. And the ships? How do they have so many ships? Many species had more military capability than we realized. They just never used it against us before because they fought separately. Now they fight together." Vextar's scales darkened with rage. "Then we use the final option. Activate the Star Killer weapon." Click Click's antennae drooped. "Chancellor, the weapon isn't ready. We needed the human quantum technology to complete the power systems. Then use what we have. Target the human homeworld. If we can't rule the galaxy, we'll burn it down." But even as Vextar gave his orders, human intelligence was already aware of his plans. Dr. Okafor's spy network had infiltrated the Council's most secret facilities. "Admiral Chen," came an urgent transmission. "The Council is preparing to use an incomplete planet-killer weapon against Earth. You have maybe 6 hours." Chen studied the tactical situation. Her fleet was scattered across multiple systems, fighting desperate holding actions. She couldn't possibly reach Earth in time with enough ships to stop a superweapon. "All human ships, this is Admiral Chen. Priority Alpha message. To Earth Defense Command. Implement Scorched Earth Protocol immediately." On Earth, President Santos received the message with a heavy heart. Scorched Earth Protocol meant evacuating the entire planet. 12 billion people relocated to colony worlds and allied systems before the Council weapon could fire. It was the largest evacuation in galactic history, and it happened in 4 hours. But Admiral Chen had a different plan for the weapon itself. "Dr. Okafor," she transmitted on a secure channel. "You said the weapon uses quantum energy to tear apart space-time. What happens if we overload the quantum field generators? Theoretically, the energy feedback would destroy the weapon and everything within 10 light-years of it. Including Nexus Station?" "Including Nexus Station." Chen looked at the tactical display. Nexus Station was the heart of Council power, home to millions of beings from hundreds of species. But it was also where Vextar was preparing to commit genocide against Earth. "Mark, I need you to get a message to every non-Zelkari on that station. Tell them they have 2 hours to evacuate. After that. "I understand, Admiral. What about you?" Chen looked at her ship's quantum drive display. The UES Harmony was the fastest ship in the human fleet, equipped with the most advanced quantum fold system ever built. Someone has to make sure that weapon never fires. And someone has to make sure Vextar pays for what he's tried to do. As evacuation ships fled Nexus Station, Chen's ship approached the massive space station. The Council's ultimate weapon was housed in its central core, a device capable of tearing apart stars themselves. "Admiral," her navigator reported, "I'm reading massive energy buildup from the weapon. It's almost ready to fire." Chen strapped herself into her command chair. Set course for the weapon core. Maximum speed. Ma'am, at that speed, with our quantum drive overloaded. I know, Lieutenant. Send this message to all Allied forces. The weapon will be destroyed. Continue the fight for freedom. Earth believes in you. The UES Harmony accelerated toward Nexus Station, its quantum drive pushed far beyond safe limits. As it approached the weapon core, Chen saw Zelkari ships trying to intercept her. But they were too slow. At the last moment, she activated her ship's quantum field generators at full power and aimed them at the Council's weapon. The explosion was visible from 50 star systems away. When the light faded, Nexus Station was gone. The Council's ultimate weapon was destroyed, and Chancellor Vextar, who had tried to enslave the galaxy, was nothing but scattered atoms drifting in space. But Admiral Chen had bought more than just Earth's survival. She had bought the galaxy its freedom. Across hundreds of worlds, the news spread instantly through the quantum communication network. The Council was broken. Their ultimate weapon was destroyed. Their leader was dead. The age of Council rule was over. The age of galactic freedom had begun. And it all started because they tried to make humanity pay tribute to an empire that should never have existed. 6 months after the destruction of Nexus Station, representatives from 300 species gathered on Earth for the first Galactic Federation Assembly. The meeting took place in the rebuilt United Nations building in New York, now expanded to accommodate beings of all sizes and environmental needs. Minjun Park walked through the halls, still amazed by what had happened. Aquatic nereids swam through water-filled tubes that ran along the ceiling. Energy-based luminals drifted through specially designed light conduits. Crystalline beings reflected rainbow colors off the walls, while insectoid species clicked and hummed in their various languages. 6 months ago, these species had never worked together. Now, they were writing the Constitution for a free galaxy. Ambassador Park called a familiar musical voice. Choral song of deep waters approached, now wearing the insignia of the Nereid Federation Navy. The vote is about to begin. Minjun nodded. Today, the Assembly would vote on the final form of their new government. It had been a long process, full of arguments and compromises. But somehow, they had made it work. The main assembly hall was packed. Every species, no matter how small, had an equal voice in the new federation. It was chaos compared to the old council's rigid hierarchy, but it was democratic chaos. President Santos called for order. She had been elected as the first Federation president, not because she was human, but because the other species trusted Earth's commitment to equality. The final vote on Federation Charter Article 1, she announced. All sentient species have equal rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of knowledge. All in favor? Thousands of hands, tentacles, energy patterns, and other appendages rose in agreement. The vote was unanimous. Article 2. No species shall be forced to pay tribute, taxes, or service to any other species, except through voluntary agreement. Again, unanimous approval. Minjun smiled. They had turned the Council's tribute demand into the foundation of galactic freedom. The voting continued through the day. When it was finished, the galaxy had a new government based on cooperation, instead of domination. But building something new was harder than destroying something old. In the months that followed, there were challenges nobody had expected. Some worlds didn't know how to govern themselves after centuries of council rule. Others went too far in the opposite direction, rejecting any kind of organization at all. Dr. James Okafor, now serving as Federation Cultural Advisor, worked day and night to help species adapt to freedom. Democracy isn't easy, he told a gathering of Firian leaders who were struggling with the concept of compromise. On Earth, it took us thousands of years to learn how to disagree without fighting. But how do we make decisions if everyone has different opinions? asked Blade of Truth, now a elected representative of his people. You talk. Dr. Okafor said simply. You listen. You find what you agree on, and build from there. It's slow. It's messy. But it works. Not everyone was happy with the changes. Some of the old council species still believed they deserved to rule over others. The remaining Zelkari had retreated to their home systems, bitter and angry. A few other species tried to set up their own mini-empires. But the Federation had something the old council never had: the willing cooperation of hundreds of species who remembered what oppression felt like. When the Zelkari launched attacks on former tribute worlds, they found themselves facing not just local defense forces, but volunteer fleets from across the galaxy. When pirates tried to steal resources from developing worlds, Nereid explorers and Catherian traders worked together to hunt them down. The Federation's military was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of one species commanding others, it was truly integrated. Human tactical thinking combined with Firian honor, luminal energy manipulation, and crystalline technical precision created fleets that could adapt to any situation. But the real victory wasn't military. It was cultural. For the first time in galactic history, ideas and knowledge flowed freely between species. Nereid poets worked with human writers to create new art forms. Firian honor codes merged with luminal philosophy to develop new ethical systems. Crystalline mathematics combined with human quantum theory to push the boundaries of science. Within 2 years, the Federation had made more technological and cultural advances than the Council had in the previous century. The quantum communication network that had started the revolution became the Federation's nervous system. Instead of hiding resistance messages, it now carried scientific discoveries, artistic creations, and democratic debates across thousands of light years. But perhaps the most important change was in how species saw each other. On the 3rd anniversary of Admiral Chen's sacrifice, a memorial service was held simultaneously on every Federation world. Beings who had never met humans attended ceremonies honoring a woman who had died to save their freedom. During the service on the Firian world of Honorstone, an elderly warrior named Stoneheart spoke to the crowd. I fought in the old wars, when species killed each other for council favor. I thought strength meant making others fear you. The humans taught us something different. True strength means making others trust you. Similar ceremonies took place on hundreds of worlds. Nereid songs mixed with crystalline harmonics. Luminal light displays painted Admiral Chen's story across alien skies. Human children on Earth learned traditional Firian honor chants. The galaxy was becoming something it had never been before. A true community. To community. And press us. Minjun, now serving as Federation Secretary of Interspecies Relations, received reports from across known space. New species were asking to join the Federation every month. Some had been hiding from the old council for centuries. Others were just making their first contact with galactic civilization. Each new species brought new ideas, new technologies, new ways of seeing the universe. The Federation's motto, suggested by a young Catherian philosopher, was simple: diversity in unity, strength in freedom. But the most satisfying report came from Dr. Sarah Kim, who had stayed on Oceana Prime to help the Nereids develop their new democratic government. Current Swift just received permission to lead the first mixed-species expedition to the Andromeda Galaxy, she wrote. Her crew includes humans, Firians, Luminals, and 3 species we'd never even heard of before. They'll be exploring freely, as equals, sharing everything they discover with the entire Federation. Minjun looked out his office window at the Earth skyline. Alien ships came and went freely from the spaceports. A crystalline embassy gleamed in the distance, while a Nereid cultural center had been built around a beautiful artificial lake. It was nothing like the Earth he'd grown up on, but it was everything humanity had hoped the galaxy could become. The irony wasn't lost on him. The Council's tribute demand had been designed to destroy human independence and expansion. Instead, it had freed the entire galaxy and made humans the leaders of an alliance based on equality and cooperation. The old Chancellor Vextar had been right about one thing: humans were dangerous. Not because of their weapons or their technology, but because of their ideas. Ideas about freedom, dignity, and the belief that all intelligent beings deserved a chance to reach for the stars. Those ideas had spread like wildfire across the galaxy, and now they could never be stopped. Minjun's communication system chimed with an incoming message. It was from the Federation Exploration Command. Ambassador Park, the message read, "We've made contact with a new galaxy cluster beyond the local group. Initial scans show signs of intelligent life. We're organizing a first contact mission. Would Earth like to participate?" Minjun smiled as he typed his response. Earth would be honored to help introduce new friends to the Federation. As he sent the message, he thought about Admiral Chen, Dr. Okafor, and all the others who had sacrificed so much to make this moment possible. They had dreamed of a galaxy where exploration was driven by curiosity instead of conquest, where different species could work together as equals. That dream was now reality. And it was spreading beyond their own galaxy, carried by ships full of beings who had learned that the universe was too big and too wonderful for any one species to explore alone. The Council's tribute demand had ended in disaster for the Council. For everyone else, it had been the beginning of the greatest adventure in galactic history. The age of freedom had begun, and it would never end.